3 hacks to a bulletproof retaining wall. By the end of this video, you'll know what these materials are and how they're installed. Hi everyone, I'm Jacob Godar, and my channel helps contractors deliver and clients experience a luxurious everyday life through property transformations. Today we're talking about 3 hacks to make a bulletproof retaining wall. But before we get into this, we need to go over the materials so if you've never seen them before, you know what they are. So these 3 materials that you need to know for this video are 1, CA6. This is a road pack CA6 3/4 inch stone down to fines material, and it is commonly used as the base for a retaining wall. 2, CA7 or clean stone. This is a 3/4 inch angular stone with no fines. So it's CA6, but without the fines. It has a lot less of the material that holds it together and binds it, but it also is extremely easy to compact. So when it's poured out onto the ground, it's already at 95% proctor density. You don't have to go much farther to get it all the way compact, and you're not really compacting it as much as you are like with CA6. You're more settling it. And then the third material we're going to talk about is Geogrid. This is a structural grid material. There's several different brands, there's several different types, but for the purpose of what we're talking about here, it is a material that allows you to strengthen your retaining wall by putting this back into the hillside. So those are the 3 materials we're going to talk about in this video today. So let's get straight to these hacks on how to make your wall bulletproof. Hack number 1 is a properly installed base. That starts out with proper excavation to allow enough base. Then subsoil compaction so those soils are ready to start your buildup. After that, we follow that up with a soil separation fabric. This is a water permeable fabric. We use SS5 by SRW. There's going to be a million more you can use, and this separates the dirt, the subsoil that's been compacted from your first layers of rock, so that rock can't settle down into there and cause any kind of shifting. This adds additional strength to wall. We also do this with paver patios. So we put down the SS5 and then we start our lifts of rock. A very, very common material for the lifts of rock is CA6. This has been around forever. This is what we already mentioned. You already got this at the beginning of the video of what that is, but those fines in that rock make it a lot harder to compact. When we're shooting for 8 inches of base compacted, ready to go alone, you have to compact that in 2-inch lifts if you have a smaller compactor, because it's just so hard. If you put in 4 or 5 inches of time and you've got a smaller compactor, you'll go over the top of it and it'll seem hard, but it's not. It's going to continue to settle and it's going to make your wall fail. So you're going to want 8 inches of base minimum. You're going to want taller for taller walls. You're going to look at the specs on the block you're using. All of them are going to have pre-engineered guidelines. We use Allen blocks. They say start out with a minimum of 6. We start out with 8 and go up from there depending on the height of the wall. Then it needs to be properly compacted. Something to know about this, about how it hit on there being short lifts and it being a lot harder to work with, a change on a lot of walls depending on the circumstance. We are going to a CA7 material to eliminate a lot of that. It compacts quicker and it's easier for us to work. And if we end up having a high spot, it's easier to remove. Removing CA6 because you have a high spot, you need a pickaxe just to do, and it's really, really challenging. So that's kind of the way our industry is moving. There's some new things that are too deep to get into with that, but I also wanted to hit on that's a change we're making on a lot of our walls. Hack number 2, this is huge. I've seen a lot of walls fall down. I've seen a lot of walls fail, and when you get into them, they are lacking Geogrid. No Geogrid in the wall is asking for failure. If it isn't a garden bed and it's retaining any kind of soil, any kind of load, surcharge at all, it needs Geogrid. And this is installed from the top of the first course and then every other course the rest of the way up. Now, still go back to your block manufacturer's guidelines, but I know this is how Allen Block wants it, and that's how we install it. It's also very important to remember that depending on the height of the wall, the depth the Geogrid needs to go back in the wall can vary. So the taller the wall, the farther you need to be back into the property, back into your dig, into the depth the farther the Geogrid needs to go to actually hold the wall up and to make it structurally sound. The Geogrid basically takes all the dirt, soil, and drainage rock behind the wall and ties all that volume together to the face, and it allows it to all hold up and be extremely strong. This is crucial that you use Geogrid, and it's really cheap insurance, even if you're building something small, to have it installed. Now, one of the points about Geogrid that I need you to know that you have to remember as you're building your retaining walls is not all Geogrid is the same. Some Geogrid can be rolled out along the length of the wall, and that's fine. You have to read the instructions on the roll of Geogrid, because some has no strength if you roll it out and down the wall, and some you have to roll it back as far as you want it cut and then go over and do it again. And if you mess this up, your Geogrid will have no strength at all, and that could lead to your wall failure. Hack number 3. This is something we are big on, that we love doing, and that is drainage rock behind the wall. Our go-to stone for that is always CA7, or a 3/4 inch clean stone. That's one and the same. And that drainage rock depth needs to be from 12 to 18 inches minimum. What we're doing by putting the drainage rock behind the wall is taking the #1 killer off of the wall, and that's hydraulic load from the dirt. Typically walls fail by all of these things adding together, but the icing on the cake of when it's built is water will come down the hill that this wall is holding up, and then it will saturate the soils right up against the face of that wall, and it acts like a hydraulic ram just slamming that wall over. So after massive rains, you'll see it move and move and move and then fail. And what you are allowing by putting this drainage rock behind the wall is you're allowing an area for this water to flow down through and then flow out the drains you've installed in the wall. So that's why I say 12 to 18 inches minimum. There's always needs to be a lot of back dig on these walls. That's why when a client is super concerned about you not digging far back, that's why you have to educate them about this is what makes the wall strong. The deep geogrids, the deep amount of drainage rock is what makes these walls last a lifetime. So use these 3 tips and they will take your wall building through the roof, and they will make it strong and last forever. And the last most important thing while you're doing all this is knowing how much to charge and knowing what rate to charge while you're building this wall. And you can check out the video I'm about to put up in the end screen to learn how to make your man-hour rate.